Hello, everyone. So I'm going to go over the test corrections with you guys. I'm going to go over, sorry, I needed to get the right color. I'm going to go over the directions this time. Next time I won't go over the directions so much. I will just go through the test corrections with you. So the directions are you're going to sign into Edpuzzle using Google. Your assignment is going to be called Math 8, Unit 1, Test Corrections. Also, I will post it on your Google Classroom. Watch the Edpuzzle video and complete the notes on the left for each review problem. I'm going to do 4 in this one. When the video pauses, complete the practice problem to the right and then submit/check your answer. So I'm going to do the examples of the test questions that you guys struggled with, and then you guys will do a similar problem on the right-hand side. Okay, you will answer the questions in this video when you get there. Okay, practice problems answers must be correct. Okay, if they are not correct, I will go over that in number 7. All notes and work must be shown to raise current test grade. I know I have a couple typos. I will fix it before I give you this document. I will give each one of you a copy of this on your assignment in Google Classroom. Okay. You need to play the Edpuzzle video again. So let's say you didn't get all 4 questions, practice problems right. Then you need to email me with your name and your class period and ask me to reset the video link. Okay. You only have a week to get this done. So make sure that you're doing it sooner rather than later, because you do not want to wait till the last minute and then keep having to email me, because if it's late in the evening or on the weekends, I don't always check my email. Okay. So I'm going to talk about what's next. So if we, did not want to do that. So let me fix that. Cool. So the next page, if we scroll, this is where you can put your work. Okay. You can put a picture of all of the work on one page. You can put a picture of each one. Okay. You also need to show the work of the problems we're doing together, not just the practice ones. Okay. So you need to put it here. Please make sure it's clear. If I can't read or I can't see what you did, then I will send it back to you and ask you to take clearer pictures of your work. So I would hold on to your work until your grade has been updated, or I send you an email letting you know I will be upgrading your grade to whatever score. Okay, so make sure that I can read the pictures. If I can't, I will send it back. Okay, so let's get started with the first problem. So on the left is the one we're going to do together. On the right is the one that you guys are going to try on your own. So which of the following statements is correct based on the number line below? So it's only looking for one answer because it doesn't say select all that apply. It just says which of the following statements is correct. So A says the square root of 68 is to the right of point Q. So here's point Q. So the square root, so 8 squared is 64. So the square root of 64 would go here. So if I look, the square root of 68 would be to the right because it's less than 8. Is anything to the right of 8 going to be less? No, it's going to be more. Okay, so A is not my answer. Let's look at B. Square root of 68 is between points P and Q. Well, we know that the square root of 68 is going to be this direction. So is it between P and Q? No. Okay. So B is not my answer. C says the square root of 68 is between points P and Q because it's greater than 0 and less than 8. We've already said square root of 68 is greater than the square root of 64, which is 8. So it's not less than 8. So C is not my answer either. Let's look at D. The square root of 68 is to the right of point Q. Okay, it is to the right because it is greater than 8. Yes, it's greater than 8 because it's on the right. So our answer would be D. Okay, so for this problem on the right, please try it. Show your work like I did. I put the square roots on there, and input your answer on the question on Edpuzzle. So do that now. Okay, so now we've done the first problem. You've done the practice problem. Let's look at our second problem. Okay, this is one of the other most missed problems. It was number 8 on your test. So in this problem, let's read it and see what it's asking. It says, there's an important thing right at the beginning. It says to select all. So that is very important. We need to select all. So I know there's at least 2 answers. Okay, so let's look at that. It says select all possible values for x in the equation x squared equals 45. So when we deal with x squared equals 45, to undo squaring a number or a variable is to take the square root. So if I take the square root of both sides, x squared, or 2x's multiplied together, I'm going to get the square root of x squared is x, and I can leave it as the square root of 45. Okay, that is not one of my possible answers. So I need to look at another thing. I have the square root of 45, the opposite of the square root of 45. The opposite. So the square root of 45, if I square root it, I'm going to get a positive or a negative number because 2 positives multiplied together would equal positive number, and 2 negatives multiplied together would equal a number. So x equals the opposite of the square root of 45 is correct because it could be a positive number or it could be a negative number, because when multiplied together, both of those will get us a positive 45. So one of our answers is D. Oops, it didn't make it the other color. So I like to do the bright colors so we can see. So D is one of our answers. Now let's work on simplifying. So again, we have x equals the square root of 45. Remember, we want to factor this. So let me do a factor tree. 2 factors of 45 are 9 times 5. I can't factor 5 anymore, so that is done. I can factor 9. That is 3 times 3. So now I have my factors. So I'm going to circle them. 3, 3, and 5. Okay, that is as far as I can factor it. So I'm going to write it as x equals the square root of 3 times 3 times 5. And I'm going to separate it again as the square root of 3 times 3 because I have matching factors times the square root of 5. We know 3 times 3 is 9, and we know the square root of 9 is 3. So I'll have 3 the square root of 5. So let's see, is that one of my answers? It is. That would be my answer for A. So I don't know where my green color went, so I'm going to use the yellow. So A. So these are my 2 answers, A and D. Now try the practice problem to the right, which is very similar to the problem we just did on the left. So please answer the question on Edpuzzle. Okay, now we're going to go on. Oops, sorry, did not mean to do that. So let's now go on and work on the third problem. So number 9 was another missed problem. So let's look at number 9. So number 9 says, again, select all. That is a key there. So we're going to have at least 2 answers. Okay? So it says select all the numbers below that are, another keyword is irrational. Okay? So we have to think about that. There are a couple things that make a number irrational. So the square root of non-perfect squares. Oops, I can't spell, so let me fix that. Squares. Okay, so that is one thing that makes a number a number, so a decimal that does not repeat or end. Okay, and pi. Remember, pi is not a rational number. It's an irrational number. So let's look at our answers. So we have A. It's a decimal, but we're only looking for irrational, we're looking for decimals that don't repeat and don't end. This decimal ends at a 3. So that is not an irrational number. Okay? So let me use actually red to cross it out. So that is not one of our answers. Square root of 19. Is 19 a perfect square? No. So there's one of our answers. B is an irrational number. Okay. Let's look at C. C is 13 over 24. Remember, rational numbers can be written as a fraction. So this is a rational number. It is not irrational. So C is not an answer. Square root of 61. 61 is not one of our perfect squares. The closest is 64. So it's a non-perfect square. So that is irrational. We have a decimal, but it repeats. Okay. So because it repeats, it does not fit under the criteria of an irrational number. So E is not the answer. One more. It says the square root of 25. Well, 25 is a perfect square because 5 times 5 is 25. So F is also not an answer because the square root of 25 equals 5. So in this case, we only had 2 numbers out of the 6 that are irrational. So on the problem on the right, you're going to find numbers that are rational. Okay? So if they fit the criteria that I wrote on the left, you would X them out for the practice problem. Okay? So work on that one, input your answers, and then go on to the next one. Okay, so now we're going to talk about your last problem. So this is writing a repeating decimal as a fraction. Okay, I'm going to show you how to solve this. So if we look at this, Remember, we're going to set it equal to, we're going to set the original equal to x. So we're going to say x equals 0.5777 repeating, right? It's going to go on forever. Now we need to move the decimal over so we can get rid of the repeating part. Okay, then we can write it as a fraction. So I want to move the decimal 2 places to the right. If I do that, that means I have to multiply by, if I move it once, I have to multiply by 10. If I move it twice, I have to multiply by 100. So I'm going to multiply the x times 100. So 100x equals, and I'm going to move the decimal over 2 spots. So I get 57.777 ... Or we could put a line over it and say it's repeating. I'm not going to put the repeating sign there. So now what we need to do is do subtraction. So I'm going to rewrite the 100x equals 57.777 ... And I'm going to subtract the 1x, which is 0.577 ... So now I can solve. So I know 100x's minus 1x is 99x. And now I'm going to subtract. So I know that these are going to cancel because I wanted to get rid of that repeating part. But I still have to subtract the other information. So I have 7 minus 5, which is, oops, I don't want it to be red. So 7 minus 5, which is 2. I bring down my decimal. I have 7 minus 0, which is 7, and 5 minus 0, which is 5. So now I need to do a one-step equation. So to get rid of the 99, I need to divide both sides by 99. This is not a nice decimal. So I'm going to multiply so I can move the decimal over and get rid of it. I'm going to multiply the top by 10 and the bottom by 10. So I will get that x equals 572 divided by 990. If I look at my answers, those aren't any of the possible answers. So I need to simplify this fraction. So they're both even. So I could start by dividing by 2. So if I divide by 2, if I divide 572 by 2, 2 goes into 5 twice. 2 goes into 17, 8. And 2 goes into 12, 6. Over, 2 goes into 9, 4. 2 goes into 19, 9. 2 goes into 10, 5. That's still not one of them, okay? So I have to keep simplifying. So let's look at these. I'm going to use my calculator to help me because now that's not always the easiest, okay? So I'm going to use my calculator. Let's see what I can figure out. So if I take 286 and I divide it by, it can't be 2 because it's not even. So let's say I divide it by, let's try 9. Nope, that doesn't work. So 286 divided by 13. There we go. 286 divided by 13. So I'm going to divide this by 13. But I got to see, hold on. I got to see if 495 is divisible by 13. Nope. So I can't use 13. Sorry. That can be a little bit. You can also look up and see what are the factors of 286. Okay. You could do it that way. This gets to be very tedious. So let's look at it again. So 13 didn't work. Let's divide it by 3. 286 divided by 3. Nope, doesn't work. 286 divided by 6. Nope. 286 divided by... I'm curious. I'm not sure. Okay, so this one is very tough, okay? Finding the factors and all that. If you get stuck like we are right now, you can always go back to your answers and see which one gets you that decimal, okay? That's another way if it's a multiple choice. If it's not, then you're gonna have to go through and figure out the factors. So let me keep working. Let's look at the factors. 286 divided by 4? Nope. 286 divided by 6? Nope. 286 divided by 7? Nope. 286 divided by 11. 286 divided by 11. But let's see if 495 is divisible by 11. Yep, so that works. So I'm going to divide the numerator and the denominator by 11. So I just had to go through and kind of guess and check because those aren't ones that I know off the top of my head. So we're going to divide them both by 11. So 495 divided by 11 is 45. And 286 divided by 11 is 26. Is that one of my possible answers? In this case, yes, it is. Okay. If it is a multiple choice test, you can always go through and check your answers. Oops, I marked the wrong one. I should have marked not D, but I should have marked C. Sorry about that, you guys. We all make mistakes. So your answer is C. I could also look at it by doing the division, going 26 divided by 45 and see, do I get 0.5777 repeating? Yes, I do. So that's a way to check. So you could have done that to all of these answers and gone that way. But I want you to try it with showing the work like I did in this problem. It does take a little bit longer, but it's good to know how to do that. Okay, so this is your last example. You need to do the problem on the right, and please put your answer into Edpuzzle and make sure that you add your picture to the slides and then turn in. If you have any questions, please let me know, but answer this last question. Thank you.